Like a shimmering web, her offerings are interconnected. So I love that description of a shimmering web. And when we've talked before, you described yourself as a weaver. Can you tell the audience more about that?
It's where I found myself over this past year. It's coming to a greater understanding of working on different timelines and my past lineages, and taking that wisdom that was shown to me and utilizing that into a web of ways to weave or thread healing techniques and wisdom and guidance. So it all comes together on many different levels, having more premonitions. And so it just developed and got deeper and deeper, more interesting, like Alice in Wonderland, down the rabbit hole I went. And it's interesting because just over this past holiday, I actually found out for sure a connection to a vision that I've had years ago that I thought I would never, ever make a connection to, is knowing that I was connected to the Knights Templar.
Welcome to the Sleeping Lotus podcast, the sacred space where we explore the human spirit's true potential and awaken to our soul remembrance one petal at a time. Whether you're wide awake, half asleep, or somewhere in between, this is a circle where nothing is too mystical, too messy, or too much. Each week, we'll gather around the stories that shaped us, the breakdowns and the breakthroughs that opened us up to divine moments that helped us remember who we really are. We'll be joined by guests who've lived through the darkness and found the sacred woven within it. This isn't just a podcast. It's a remembering, a return, a place to rest and awaken. So pour some tea, light a candle, or just breathe with us. Let the lotus within you open in its own time, in its own way. So thank you for tuning in, and let's begin. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Sleeping Lotus podcast. I'm Laura Jean.
And I'm Stephanie.
And we're your hosts. Today, we have a very beautiful guest. Her name is Deidra Solis. She describes herself as a spiritual guide with the mission to assist individuals on their personal journey of spiritual awakening and self-discovery. Like a shimmering web, her offerings are interconnected. So I love that description of a shimmering web. And when we've talked before, you've described yourself as a weaver. Can you tell the audience more about that?
I would love to. Thank you so much, Laura Jean and Stephanie. I really appreciate the opportunity to be on the Sleeping Lotus podcast. So I just want to make sure I get that out there.
Thank you. Our pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah. So to me, a weaver is someone who's very connected with the understanding that we are multidimensional. And there are many ways to connect with areas of healing through energy work. And taking all these different, it's like essences of different traditions, different lineages. And I believe we all have that within us to some degree, and that it's where I found myself over this past year, is coming to a greater understanding of working on different timelines and my past lineages, and taking that wisdom that was shown to me and utilizing that into a web of ways to weave or thread healing techniques and wisdom and guidance. So it all comes together on many different levels.
Love that.
I know. I just went like, ooh,
Yeah.
that sounds like so good.
I think my heart chakra just went, whew. Awesome.
So, how far does this go back for you? When did you know that you had psychic abilities, or, really found yourself involved in this type of work?
Yeah. So I always knew I was different, even as a young child, and many experiences over my lifetime up until this point. And I still have many experiences that I'm opening up to and learning about. But as a child, for sure, I had seen balls of energy light, pink and blue, very soft colors that would interact with me, make me laugh. I didn't hear words. I had feelings and like a knowing, which now 50 some years later, I've come to understand that that was the masculine and the feminine energies working with me and teaching me. And I have many, many, many experiences throughout my childhood into my teens, where I was, opened up to definitely higher realms, and spiritual realms that were, I knew it was different, but I also knew that I was experiencing another dimension, but I didn't know what to call it at the time. And then as I got older, married, had children, I started having more premonitions. And so it just developed and got deeper and deeper, more interesting, like Alice in Wonderland, down the rabbit hole I went. And it's interesting because just over this past holiday, I actually found out for sure a connection to a vision that I've had years ago that I thought I would never, ever make a connection to, is knowing that I was connected to the Knights Templar. And over the holiday, I found my bloodline directly connects through two gateways of generations to one of the leaders of the Knights Templar. And that was I was so overjoyed. And there's a whole story behind that. And that could also be another.
I was going to say,
future.
I mean, we had an idea of what this episode was going to go to, but we're always open to explore anything that comes through. So that's up to you if you'd like to share more about that, or if you'd like to share,
Sure. Yeah. So I guess I would say with the original question, how that comes to be for me personally. And again, I mean, we're all on our own journeys, right? We're all learning and growing and falling on our face and getting back up and stumbling again. And then in the absolute bliss of it all. And it's just a myriad of emotions and wisdom. And so to just touch on the Knights Templar, I always knew I had some connection, and it was just so weird, even as a teenage girl, like having this sense. And I've always been very connected with St. Joan of Arc as well. And not putting the two together, again, I found so much information over the last few years with the help of my sister, who has done such a deep dive in our family genealogy. And it's interesting too. I can't help but smile because last night I started a new book, and it was another book about Mary Magdalene, who I absolutely adore and have always felt connected to. And there was a line in part of the description of the book on the back of the book, The Magdalene Mysteries, that talked about how Robin Hood is connected to the Knights Templar as well. And my sister's past research in genealogy, my father's family line still has a farm to this day in England that is right next to Sherwood Forest.
Wow.
And it's like the Templars again come in. And then through our genealogy, my sister, I also felt I was connected in some way to St. Joan of Arc. I didn't know how. I felt like it could be through the people who supported her on her journey to fund her for her, for, all the work that she had done. And my sister also found out that we have a connection to the Anjou family, which is the family that funded. So I say that just because it's important to believe in what we receive. When we feel something so deep in our heart, it's like literally always felt like blood to me, cellular DNA level. And here I am 20 some years later, even more than that, because it's even for when I was a teenager that all this has come full circle for me. And it's only to allow me to finally exhale and say, I'm so glad that I never gave up on believing that that was part of my truth. And it all comes together of why I'm so drawn to Mary Magdalene, all of it. And it's so beautiful, but it took a lot to get there. And, for all spiritual seekers, those who are seasoned and those who are starting on their journey, I always say, just don't give up. Have that faith. If it comes back to you, for me, if something comes back to me 3 times, I know it's a truth. And I know that I will have some kind of confirmation at some point, and I just have to trust. I just have to trust.
And it's not always right away.
It's usually not.
Yeah.
It's usually not.
It's
And
usually
that's
years away.
That's right. That's right.
It's just having faith to get there, to see it, to experience it.
And
then
yes,
once it clicks and
yes,
you now believe more in yourself, and not giving up is crucial, because if you do, you're never going to reach that point.
that's right. And I think when we have those moments, like for me personally, when I had that moment, because there's a whole backstory that comes behind it as well. But when that moment hit me, I literally started to cry because I even feel emotional talking about it, because it's like a coming home. It's like a feeling of coming home. But just for me personally,
right,
that I know that is such a part of my truth. And I also know unequivocally that now that I've made that connection, that they've helped me with, because they gave me the inspirations to search or to feel through that. Now, after all of my work and integration, I can embody that. And that's a big part of my work, is helping other people find that truth within them so they can embody that. So to me, what that means is, now I've done this work and research and searching, taking me to England two times, and for a spiritual calling and initiation. I can again say that I know that the wisdom of my ancestors that I have done that healing lineage work with, that ancestral healing, I now embody that wisdom from them. And that is also utilized in my shimmering web. And I help people connect to their truth, to their lineages, their family lines, in that sense, energetically, spiritually, to allow them, to lead them on a journey of discovering for themselves. I'm just a guide to help them understand how to get started.
Yeah.
And also to help them on the journey if they have questions, and I do mentoring, and it's just checking in and helping people understand that it's not secret societies anymore, right? We're not hidden in the caves anymore. We're now coming out, and we're able to put our robes of light on, our starry robes of light, and to stand in our truth and in the power of who we are. And each of us will come to that as we're supposed to. It doesn't happen overnight. Like Stephanie said, sometimes it takes years.
A lifetime.
But where we are now at this time in history, we are on a exquisite journey. And I know many people, including myself, who have experienced timeline jumping, quantum jumping, and how things are speeding up. And so I do believe that we are waking up much more quickly. And I call it coming back online as we remember. As we remember our truth, it's giving us that liquid light energy to power us forward. And we can choose as sentient beings to either allow and step forward, or stay on the path of the past. And, it's a choice whether, we step forward or stay back in the past in fear and old patriarchy. And, my hope is, and I feel like my work is definitely to get the message out that we are many.
Yeah.
We are many.
I love that you kind of like started off sharing about the remembrance part, because for me, I love that part that we have in our opening of our podcast, where this isn't just a podcast, it's a remembering. Yes. Because I've had a similar experience where it's like from childhood, it just sort of felt like I had a memory, but I was struggling to access the memory. But it's also just like this feeling that I know that I've been somewhere else. And I think that people are going to start having that feeling if they're not having it already. And they're kind of going, what is this?
That's right.
How do I access this more? Who do I talk to about it?
And is there something wrong with me?
Right.
That's a big thing too. Yeah. I mean,
am I going crazy?
We've all been down that road.
Yes. That's how I met Stephanie.
There you go. You know?
Yeah.
It's not an easy journey.
It's not.
But I do believe that God and our guides do put us on the path where we can connect with other people who we resonate with. And then I think we just walk together through it and we share and we experience. And, so yeah, it requires a little solo time once in a while, but we're not alone. Even during then, it may feel like it, but we're not. And we just got to keep going. We got to trudge through and keep going. And just, if you feel like you're being pulled in one direction, like, don't ignore that, because there's something there waiting for you. And it's being mindful and being aware of those moments when you see them, or sometimes it's just a little subtle reminder that there's more to this. It's not here right now, but it's coming. So just hang in there and keep going in the direction you're going. Those lull periods where there's nothing going on, and then you really feel like you're losing your mind because you're looking back thinking, my gosh, look at everything I did to get here. And now what is this? There's nothing. Like there's, I feel like I haven't gone anywhere, and yet I've done all of this work. So it takes time, and just have the patience with yourself and do the healing work. And those little breaks in between, I think, are very important, because we get to reflect on ourselves, our journey, do the inner work that needs to be done, seek out those people that we resonate with that will assist us too along the way.
Absolutely. And healing is the key. It truly is.
Huge.
And if we have to be open enough to be able to see where our life is playing out in certain ways, and to recognize what needs to change or what needs to be let go of. And until we do that, we can't progress. Right. And so that's the difficult part, because I think so many people we've suffered for so long, especially women, and, within the patriarchy, and always being suppressed, and never, having that. I mean, not that everyone feels the same way, but to be suppressed or not to feel that you have a voice, or that you're not worthy of. And when we come to understand how that manifests in our life, and what that can create in our life, and hold us back, like you say, with the blockages, we need to start looking internally on how we can shift and change that. And it takes courage. Oh, yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I am so devoted to St. Joan of Arc, and the courage that she had. She wasn't a figure in a book. She was a living human on this earth. And what she went through, the trials, literally, and the tribulations, and she never, ever, ever lost faith. Never, ever lost faith. And so to me, I mean, I love many, but when I've always really needed courage, it's been St. Joan of Arc, Mother Mary, and Mary Magdalene, and of course, Yeshua. But as a female, I've always felt very drawn to the feminine, the divine feminine priestesses, and always felt safe in that energy and presence. And again, it's a part of the journey as we discover who our teachers are and what they represent, and it's not necessarily that I was that person in a past life. It's, I understand that I have worked with the energy of these beautiful, beautiful priestesses on many timelines in many lifetimes. And that has been, over the last 2 years, very, very prominent for me. So in the last few years, I've come across a lot of answers or confirmations on my journey, and the whys, and who, how. And it's not to become hyper focused on those deities or priestesses and to be overly hyper focused, but what are they teaching me? What do I have to learn from their energy, their presence, their love,
Mhm.
the wisdom.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love that you emphasize that it's not that you were like Joan of Arc. It's that you're working with that energy, because I've come across some info where someone had shared that past life regression, sometimes it's not that you were exactly that person, but it's the story that you need to see right now. So
Yeah.
to help
That's
you here in this moment in time.
Something that you
definitely,
can relate
Yeah.
to, that
Yeah.
definitely.
resonates.
So it's not to get so attached to, being that specific character.
That's right.
It's,
And that's exactly, yes.
yeah,
And
it's to take
I'm
that wisdom.
also um I'm certified in Dolores Cannon's quantum
Mm-hmm.
healing, past life regressions. And it's so true. And I think so many people, which is this is understandable, that they know that they were somebody else. They have this sense of being somebody else, or this, being a part of something that may have a connection to a very prominent part of history.
Mhm.
I also am very connected to ancient Egypt, but I know that I wasn't Cleopatra, but I was a priestess.
Mhm.
But there were many who were trained. Mary Magdalene, right? She was a priestess. I believe that Mother Mary was an initiate.
Mm-hmm.
I think she was also trained in the teachings of Isis as well. But it's a memory, right? We're remembering a period of time where we were a part of something that was important, or maybe, as Dolores Cannon would say, maybe I was just a potato picker. Maybe I was a potato farmer, and that life, maybe I learned something really important. And, but when we have those strong understandings of being connected to something that's radically important to us, we should always follow that trail to some degree. Be curious, be inquisitive, right?
Childlike.
Yes,
Mhm.
Yeah.
You never know unless you take the leap of faith. You
that's
just don't
right.
know what's
Mm-hmm.
waiting for you. But
That's
when you
right.
find it, and when you mentioned earlier that it resonates so deeply, like into your cells, like you can't deny it. It's who you are. To tell someone, oh, that's not normal, you shouldn't talk that way, or that people are going to think you're crazy, like there's just a lot of misunderstanding.
Mhm.
So I think that's another reason why we need that alone time, just to explore ourselves and come to terms with, there's something happening here that I can't explain, and I obviously no one can help me right now because everybody thinks I'm nuts. So I need to take this time to go out on my own and discover and explore and learn. And then when it's kind of like in the tarot cards, you have the fool that's beginning his journey. He's got his little satchel and his dog by his feet, and off he goes. He's really doesn't know much of anything, but he knows that he needs to go on this expedition and start to explore the world a little bit. And it's not just externally, it's internally. So as you begin
Mm,
to learn more about yourself, you learn your strengths and your weaknesses, and then as you move through it, there's things that you can resonate to and yet relate on another level. So there's so much work involved, and
mm,
it's that's why we say it's not easy, and it's probably
that's
not
right.
for everyone until they're ready and they have to
Absolutely.
make that decision, because you can't just pick and choose the days that you want to step into your power. It is a job, it's a commitment,
Absolutely.
and I don't think people
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah. And also, that's so true. So true. And also, too, like I'll tell my clients, they sometimes think like that I don't have hardships, or I don't
Mm,
have
Mm-hmm.
ups
very
and
common.
downs.
Hmm.
And I'm just like them,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
But I'm working from my calling, literally my calling to do this work. That was scary to step into that, because you know you have that thought like, well, why would people want to listen to what I have to say, like, how, like, and it's that whole self-doubt thing. But there were too many things, and I think this probably goes for most mystics, healers, alchemists, midwives, weavers, that we know within the deepest part of our being that this is work that needs to be done. And to step onto that path is scary. And we understand when our clients or our students have that same fear, but we can teach from experience, just like our ancestors did. And the mystics and the weavers and the witches and the druids and all of my lineages had to do as well. And we just have to trust. And that's why it's so beautifully and important to make those connections with our guides or ancestors. And I also want to point out too that it's great working with ancestors, but not all our ancestors are ancestors that we want to call upon for help. Because there was,
Sure.
there's a lot of healing that needs to take place. And so it's just, so like when I call upon my ancestors, I'll say, those of the highest light,
Yes.
those of the highest wisdom, with the highest love and intention. Not that I don't love my other ancestors, but if we think back hundreds of thousands of years, the struggles and the strifes that it took them to get to where we are, because it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here.
Right. And we're just remembering all of this as we go along. It's another, I think, another misconception sometimes is that I think people get the wrong idea sometimes when they see that we're different. And it's not that we just woke up one day and said, oh, I want to be different. I want to be ridiculed. I want to be laughed at. I want to be mocked. I want to be told that I'm crazy, that I'm not normal. I don't even know what normal is, but that's, again, I believe it's just conditioning. It's social conditioning. Sadly, there's just not a lot of understanding and teaching and patience for this. So when you do have this calling, and you can be pulled in any direction, it's up to you to do the work, because no one's standing there with the books and saying, okay, you need to read this and you'll understand, or you need to go and meditate and you'll understand. And I think that's why having a good connection with your guides is so important, because they can guide you in those directions where you may not physically be able to. Many, many times. I mean, I'm an only child, so I don't have brothers and sisters that I could call up and say, oh my gosh, wait do you hear what just happened? So I kept a lot of things to myself. I don't know if that's such a good idea either, but I think, you'll figure it out as you go along. But when those callings come, you can't ignore them, because they're so deep within you. And even though your human brain or ego may not understand it, it is without a doubt. And only those who truly love you and know you can respect that and say, yeah, I don't think I'd be doing it, but I know you, and you got to go and do this. So, and I love them for that, because that's maybe what I needed to hear to motivate me, to get me going. But many of us don't wake up and expect to face a lot of the challenges that we do along the way. And maybe we have a bit more hardship in life. So we do have these experiences so we can relate to others and maybe give them some words of guidance and wisdom as we move along, but we don't have it figured out either. And Deidre, I'm with you on that. Through the years, I've had many clients, when I start to talk with them and open up about things, and they're looking at me for a minute and they're like, oh, I didn't realize that you had that happen. And I said, well, yeah, I'm a human too. I go through hardships in life. I mean, how am I going to learn? There's no growth and comfort. So I think they really respect you after that, knowing that, oh, she is human after all. Oh, she does have crazy experiences too, or hardships, or, whatever we're in the moment talking about. And I think that's a good thing. I don't think we should hold that back and give this false pretense that, well, our life is great and your life isn't. So I'm going to tell you how. Nope.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm going to say on that.
Everybody who knows me knows when I say I'm in hermit mode,
there's a reason.
There's a reason. And so I'm going to and doing inner work. And but it took me a long time to figure out what was happening to me. I thought, oh, am I going into a state of depression? Like, why is this? I'm usually very outgoing. Why do I feel like I just want to just go and be silent, or be in nature and be in the woods and not talk to anyone? And then I always honored that feeling, though. I always listened to that call of my intuition. And that's really, 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 really important.
Oh, yes.
I think for me, naturally, that was always my strongest sense. And I learned very quickly as a child, growing up in a dysfunctional family, like the majority of people in the United States. I learned very quickly, how to detach or take myself out of a situation, or it wasn't until I was older that I realized that I was actually taking myself into another level of consciousness, more of a trance state, when I would have those experiences with these loving energies when I was a child. And I understand that very clearly now. But it's so true. I think for the majority of people, I usually start with intuition. Let's get you connected. You're already connected. Let's get you to understand what you're experiencing so you can learn discernment.
Mm-hmm.
And then value that and work through that. And it's not a rush. Take your time and allow the experiences to happen. And it's amazing when I see my clients, like, they'll get information and they look at me like I did something, like I'm the one that gave them. And I'm like I'm just guiding you along. I'm holding that sacred space for you. And I think that's something that my guides have been made very clear to me, that is one of my big strengths, is being able to hold sacred space and hold strong energy fields for people to have experiences so they can know what something feels like. But it's not me that's making the experience happen. I'm kind of just the bridge that kind of helps them understand how to connect to that. It's like holding that space so they can, cross that dimension or that level of consciousness to experience. And when they have those moments where they experience it, they literally they don't know what to say, because, and that's when I know, I'm like, okay, yes, they got it, because it is almost as if there are no words for it. It's a feeling, it's a sensation, it's a remembering. Powerful.
And you have to embrace all of it, not just the good stuff.
That's right.
You have to embrace the emotional roller coaster. You have to embrace the uncomfortable moments. And there's going to be quite a few of them. And you're going to see some truths about yourself and maybe the world around you and how you interact with it, and realize that sometimes the best thing for you is that you just need to, I shut down when I need to regroup. And if I'm being shown something that I need to work on, and this is the right moment to do it, then I need to shut down, because you start interacting with the world and it kind of pulls you away from, some of the focus that you need to do the work. Not all the time. We don't want to be too far in, off into woo-woo land. But we do need that break once in a while. And it is important. It is a part of the journey. So learn to embrace all of it, good, bad, and ugly.
Yeah. And I think too, it, like, for me, kind of starts with almost like feeling this magnetic feeling within myself. And so if that's really building up and I'm feeling this resistance, but I don't know what quite it is, then I'm like, okay, I'm not living in my authenticity here. Like, something here has to shift, because the old me is still trying to push its way in and stay, because the nervous system knows how to interact in that world. And it's new to this other side. And so I think if anyone is kind of like starting their journey, that's kind of a place to start, is to feel that inner magnetic pulse that says, I need to move in a different direction.
Yes.
Yeah.
And don't rush through it.
Rush. Yeah.
Right. You're going to need time, because this is very important. It's important for your state of mind and for your well-being. And you are still a human being, so you still have to operate out in the real world. And you have to learn to navigate, but you also have to learn when to shut down for a little while and process things, because you will start to process things on a different level now. Your perspective starts to shift. I mean, once you start to step into your power, into your truth and what your purpose is here, it's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to have all the answers. There may be times where you'll have to go months before you understand something, or years there's something I'm still waiting for. And I think it's been like 15 years now. So, but I know it's coming because I've gotten all the little pieces along the way, but it was very profound. So it's patience, very important. Love yourself while you're going through it. And if you need to have these emotional breakdowns, it's also a release of old energy, and it's necessary. And there's no shame in it. Go into the shower, where you can be by yourself and just release everything that needs to be. And then you can, start fresh now. And then you get through a few days and you start to balance out now. You don't feel too, off your rocker. And things are moving along quite nicely for a little bit. And you're starting to fit in now. This new version of yourself is acclimating to the world that you live in. And you get a little bit of a breather and things start to shift. And maybe some people in your life shift, and maybe you decide that you like to shift in your job or, the position or your career. I mean, so many changes. When you're stepping into this new vibration, everything will shift around you in its own way. Nothing is forced, and you will have the time to step into it with no rush. It's kind of like a new outfit you're fitting into. You kind of have to grow into it. But again, patience is key, and respecting that this is a journey for you, and that it is okay. It will all be okay.
Yeah. And intention,
Huge.
intention. having that intention of what, even if you don't know the end game, the end goal of where this is going to take you, it gives you that internal dialogue to say, how do I want to work with this? What are my intentions in now understanding that I'm waking up to something that's, greater than myself. And I really need to connect within myself to be able to connect more deeply with that greater source energy. And so having that intention, the patience, the trust, because if we just wingding it, it's not going to turn out well, because you will literally just be like a pinball machine, bouncing back and forth all over the place.
Confusion.
And then a lot of times people will blame that on what they're waking up to, but it's where's your mindset? Where's your intention? What do you want to create? And so those moments in the mindfulness or being in nature help us bring clarity to that, and asking, even if you're talking to a tree or a bird or just the sky, the moon, the stars, asking, please show me what it is that I need to learn about myself at this time, as I leave that person who I was even yesterday. We're different. Every morning we wake up, it's a new day.
And then buckle up.
Buckle up.
So Deidre, if I was a new client, and I came to you and I said, okay, there's a lot of things going on in my life right now, and I'm not so sure about them, and I'm not even so sure about myself. Can you help me? What would your advice be? What could you offer someone as they are starting out in their journey and maybe not aware that they're starting in their journey?
Right. They just don't know what's happening.
Right.
So I would absolutely ask questions about, what brought them to see me. Experiences, maybe, because it's usually an experience that triggers that anxiety, because something's happening and it's different and my body feels different, or, whatever their experience is. And so, I think it's important to guide them in a way to recall what it is that maybe triggered or started the events, and we'll say, of them knowing something's different. So it's bringing an awareness to what they're feeling, sensing, knowing, because then that brings them closer to who they are in their truth as a human being, a sentient being. So then it's just by asking certain questions, it's allowing them to start to experience what they're talking about versus it's just a story I'm telling. And so I lead them in a way, and it's very intuitive. My guides work with me very closely. But for the most part, the experience are having them feel through things, and definitely explaining to them and guiding them through a meditation. Usually it's a very sensory, when we come out of the meditation, the first thing I say is, would you like to talk about what you experienced in that meditation? And it's not a long meditation, but it generally takes them very deep. And then they are able to share the experience. And I ask them to be very descriptive. And so all of the aspects of the session helps them feel much more grounded in why they chose to come. And they start to feel that this is real, that, okay, I'm not crazy. And I have someone here that I can exchange conversation with and ask questions to that understands as well, because they've been through it. Mm-hmm. And so that's how it generally starts out. I will say that when I have those sessions, there is also healing happening. And I'm not like setting forth that I am going to be that person, but I believe that it's their own guides are coming in that sacred space that I'm holding, because that's what I'm doing. I am holding sacred space. I'm not telling you what to think or feel. I create the space for you to experience.
Right.
And when we have an experience and we can feel something, especially when it's connected to the divine, we're not going to forget that feeling. And then I guide my clients towards the end to remember that you too can attain that state of being. Remember that feeling. It's like a muscle memory. Remember that essence of what it felt like when you were connected in that trance-like state. And that will help you guide you back on your own, in your own time, when you want to sit and work with your guides.
Mm-hmm. So you're giving them the tools they need.
Giving them the tools, the validation, the support, the confirmations that come through, because they're telling me, like they're saying, oh, I don't know where it came from, but it was like I heard something or I felt something. And I felt like they were saying, whatever it could be. Like yesterday, one of my clients, she's, no, I can't do that. I can't access that. Like, I don't have God. I think I have guides, but they don't talk to me. And I said, let's just take a journey. And we did. And she had an intention and a question. And it's sometimes I'm great, kind of like just witnessing them from afar. And so I was kind of doing that, and I could see she was having a moment or feel it. And so when we came out of the meditation, she was so excited. And I just said, how do you feel? She said, should I tell you now what they told me? And I said, yeah. And so she had the answer. And she just started crying. She goes, I can't believe I just experienced that. Like, what happened? Like, what? And then it was like, 100 questions, right? But I'm like, let's sit with this. Let's just sit with this. How do you feel? How does your body feel? How does your heart feel? Do you have peace now? I have so much peace because I just know it's going to be true. And I said, trust that.
It's a beautiful thing.
Beautiful, yeah.
Nothing in the world better than that. So curious, what would be, now, of all the clients you've seen, because you've been doing this professionally for how long?
Professionally, probably 15 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's been that long. Oh my goodness.
I know.
Where did time go? Oh my goodness. Okay. So what would be one, okay. Think here for a second. What would be your greatest moment? I don't want to use like your favorite client, but what would be, what changed you? What experience did you have with a client that changed you, that they actually were your catalyst to push you further into the work that you're meant to do? There's usually one really powerful experience when that happens.
For sure. And we do have many. I will say we do have many. But usually, interesting enough, the client that I was just referring to, of course, I won't say her name or anything, but she's a nurse. And it's interesting. A lot of, like, 95% of my clients are nurses and therapists, which I love. They're beautiful energies. So probably the most profound for me was with her. And actually, just in the latter part of 2025. Well, I'll say probably 7 months ago, around. So she had contacted me for a session, and I've been working with her for quite some time. And the day before her session, I was at home having a meditation, and something shifted, and I went really deep, and I saw a portal open, and there was an angelic being that came forward and had this profound message. And there were a few key points within this message. And one of them was that my client, who I was going to see the next day, was pregnant. And I knew that she had talked a few years back about being a surrogate, but never talked about it again. And so the angelic presence told me they were Hilarion, and that she was going to be pregnant, and that she was pregnant with a star child. Mm. And it was so profound, the feeling and the love that came through in this transmission. And I had never before had an experience with Hilarion, though I do work with a council of light. And they went on to share more, and they told me that I was to tell them that they had a star child in them. Mm-hmm. And I thought to myself afterwards, I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. But they told me, they didn't call it a test, but they said that this was going to be like an initiatory part of my evolution in my spiritual work. Mm-hmm. And that if these things were come to play, that I would have to share that as an acknowledgement to my teachers. And with that, I would be more aware after that experience of this council of light, and that I was a petitioner of the light. Right, take all that in. And so it was a lot to process. So the next day,
a little bribery there too.
Yeah, right. And so the next day, my client comes, and of course, it's in the back of my mind when I come to prepare before my clients arrive. So before each of my clients arrive, I spend at least an hour and a half to 2 hours clearing my space, clearing my field, going into deep meditation, doing breath work, creating the sacred space, calling in the directions. I prepare everything before my clients get there. And so she arrived, and I had to put my doubts aside, because now my client is here, and my job is to work with her and to hold this space. So I'd go into a deep meditation, and I'm starting my day like I normally, like same way I start every client. And then I start to feel something shift within my energy field, and I could feel the angelic presence arrive. And I thought, oh my goodness. So I had already like started into the reading when I was feeling this, but I can't, you have to maintain your lane, right? So I'm maintaining my awareness, though I feel the presence. And it was very loving. And so I had already started into the reading with other stuff. And when I feel the presence come in, literally, my client says, "I'm sorry, can we stop for a moment?" And so I'm like kind of doing this because I'm in this state. And so I say, sure. So we stop, and I'm still kind of like holding the space. And she said, "I've been coming to you for a long time." And she's looking around the room, and she said, "Something feels profoundly different right now, and I don't know what it is." And I said, "How do you feel?" She said, "I feel like I'm enveloped with love." And I said, "Because you are." And she said, "I have to tell you something." And I said, "What's that?" And she said, "I'm pregnant." And she didn't even let me get to where I was going, right? But I thought, she made this easy for me. And so I said to her, "I know." And we both just broke down and started crying. And so then I shared what they shared with me in the experience, what they told me for her. And she said, "Is what I'm feeling the love coming from this child within me?" And I said, yes.
Mm.
And it was just so profound. And there was more to it. I don't want to share her whole experience because it is her experience, but that was probably one of the most profound experiences. And since then, the level of guides that I'm working with has definitely shifted. It has definitely deepened.
Mm-hmm.
And the knowledge and the wisdom and the understandings that I'm now receiving are so comforting and answering things that they told me or gave me breadcrumbs 10 years ago. And everything's coming full circle. And so that was very, very profound for me. And it has changed my journey a lot.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
preparing you for the next leg of this.
absolutely. Absolutely. And that in that 6 months, I have done so much more inner work and revealing and remembering. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to kind of take you back to where you had mentioned working with Mary Magdalene. And speaking of you kind of transitioning in your work and things, I know you mentioned that you feel very strongly about working with her and working with women as well. So is there a little bit more that you can share with us of that work that you're beginning to do?
I would love to. Yeah. So I definitely always, like looking back on my life, I always had a strong feeling of wanting to help other women in that in some way were wronged, or I just always felt like I needed to stand up, help people stand up and give a voice. But in my, I want to say it was really in the last 4 years is where my deeper understanding of my connection with Mary Magdalene has come forward. And that has definitely been, it first started with sacred geometry. And I started just seeing a lot of sacred geometry, a lot of things to do with the rose. And then just so many things drawing me towards the divine feminine path. And the more I was drawn to the path, the more she would appear to me. And I would see her in meditations. I've done sketches of her and artwork with her, and just feeling that creative connection with her. And then through that, remembering as a child, I was raised Catholic and having to go to CCD and having memories of being in CCD and being sent home from CCD when they were talking about Mary Magdalene's story. And I remember so clearly saying, that's not true. That's not true. And the nuns being so angry with me. I was disrupting class all the time and they would send me home. And I was just always challenging. And so a lot of these memories started coming back. And I started to put, again, pieces together throughout my life and weaving them together and understanding how this is all connected. And then through journeying and deep meditations, having been shown the work that I did. And part of my work as a priestess was the teachings. Mary Magdalene, was the inner work, the inner light, the chakras, the virtues. She's so much more than we were ever told. Mm-hmm. And my connection between how I first came and really awakened on this path was through a Kundalini awakening, spontaneous. And my energy centers blasting open, and how she taught about that. And then even more so, I didn't realize I had been talking about becoming a death doula. And I thought, well, that's so interesting. Like, maybe I'm drawn to this because I'm a medium. Maybe I'm drawn to it because death and mediumship kind of go hand in hand. It's like, no, there's something more to this. And the day I learned and realized that Mary Magdalene was a death doula, the alabaster jar carry the oils to anoint the feet of people who were going to die, as she anointed Jesus before he was crucified. And everyone was so outraged that she would do that to him. You're saying he's going to die? Are you preparing him for death? And just the work that she had done. And so I've had past memories for myself doing that work, we'll say spreading the gospel, and my role as a priestess and a doula, a soul midwife in many lifetimes, it has all been unfolding over the last 4 years. And then traveling to England and being called to Glastonbury specifically, finding out that, it has never been written anywhere, but many believe that Mary Magdalene stayed in Glastonbury. And for those who believe she had a daughter, Sarah, she lived there as well and was married off to the family that created the Knights Templar.
Mm-hmm. I think that the ley line goes through Glastonbury. Her ley
Mary
line.
Magdalene and Michael. It does. It goes through the tour. It goes through the tour. And that's where I had my initiation when I went on my solo journey. I had this amulet here of the scarab. And I had an amazing experience there with the energies. That it's so profound there for anyone on their spiritual journey. Is a very profound place. But it was literally all coming together. All the timelines for me personally in the work that I'm doing are intersecting. And I'm able now to move between timelines and receive information where it's corroborating my connections. And then like my blood lineage through the Knights Templar, who they were devoted to Mary Magdalene. Saint Joan of Arc carries, in her statues and her photos, carries the little pouch that Mary Magdalene was known for, that carried the coins that represented her support for Yeshua. She's also said to have been a Knights Templar. So there's a lot of history, there's a lot of, lore and myth. But when we have these certain experiences, it makes it so much more fluid to be able to now understand how it's all connected. And so it's been a journey, but all of this understanding has really been coming to the forefront over the last 4 years of my work and connection with Mary Magdalene, which led me to my certification as a death doula.
Yeah. I find it interesting that you've experienced that over the last couple of years, because I've had a similar experience with coming across the information of the Gospel of Mary Magdalene and the information, like the information in it. And I found it fascinating that she taught, or at least the author of the book broke it down as that she taught authenticity was the highest level, like, of frequency that you can have, even above love. So like she was the representation of authenticity, and we've completely, not completely, because people are rising more into their authenticity, but I think they just sort of are a little bit scrambled of how to find that and how to hold it.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And that's so right, Largene, is how to hold that frequency. And to be able to hold that frequency, whether we call it the Magdalene frequency or however we choose, there's so many different ways to subscribe or connect to what the meaning is. For different people, it might be different verbiage. But that's a beautiful way, is to hold that frequency. In order to get there, we have to do the inner work. In order to hold that frequency, we must do the inner work to connect with it. It's much like, if someone's doing a mediumship reading, you have to hold a certain vibration in a trance state. If you drop that link, then it's like the telephone hangs up. And then you have to build that energy back up again to get back on that line. Sorry about that. I'm reconnected again. But it takes a lot of effort, right? And energy to be able to do that. And that's the same as holding that frequency. It's such a high frequency that we have to learn how to come into resonance with that. And that is a journey within itself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why many people will study maybe the path of the rose or the ninefold path or the left-handed path. They're all pathways that take us to the teachings of the Magdalens. And it gives us a journey that we can take in self-discovery. And someone might read about these different practices many, many times. And maybe the first time they feel a little something, maybe the second time, or they start to actually practice and experience these things. Like when I work with my clients, I'm able to take them quickly. I don't want to say quickly, but it's almost like a direct line, so they can, all of the work that I've done over the years, I've kind of like distillated it where I feel confident in leading somebody
mm-hmm.
past a lot of the stumbling blocks to help them get a clearer direction. Mm-hmm. And that also works with the quantum jumping and the timelines, and things are moving faster for us. And it all kind of is like interceded together. But you're right. You're 100% right. It's holding that frequency is where we learn along the way how we can hold that for longer periods of time. Mm-hmm. You know, even for like healing ourselves. Mm-hmm. Like if we can get ourselves into that mind frame, like I had an issue with my hip, a little arthritis and bursitis, which isn't fun. And I've been doing like energy work and healing work and holding myself in that frequency so work can take place and with my intentions. And it's been happening and helping, but it takes time. It doesn't mean because I'm connected to this frequency that I'm going to be, you know, the immaculately healed. It's still a process that I trust in and I believe in, and I know it's working for me. And so for each person who starts on their path, it's having that trust, like we were saying earlier, the dedication and devotion. Devotion. 2026, they keep telling me that is for many, is going to be a devotional year. Many people are coming back to a deeper devotion of understanding that which is greater than themselves. And it's going to be a year of like massive awakening on many levels. And, you know, so many people that I know have left this path because it's not easy to hold that frequency. And we have to always remember to come back to that. It's like, it's like we have, just like as important as to ground ourselves. It's the same essence, you know, it's so important. We need to be connected to that. And we need to find our way and create our own pathway by remembering who we are. And that authentic self, is like you said, Laura Jean, is that authenticity that we need to show up, just be who we are. We just need to be truthful. All the masks that we thought who we were is not, we all had masks. We all needed to survive in our own way and for however long that is. But now is the time that we are waking up and people are really seeing who we are. And like I said earlier, you know, for those who are the ones who are the teachers and the ones who are walking the path of helping others follow this path, we're putting on our starry robes of light and we are stepping into our truth of who we are unapologetically. We're returning. We are many. We are here. It's the time is now. And so many more people are being called to wake up, but also to help, you know, to be that guide, to be a healer, you know, to be someone who works as a death doula and helping people transition to the next stage. Right? It doesn't end here. Bringing back those traditions.
Yeah. And I want to back up for a second, because talking about going through these transitions, these, you know, your spiritual awakening and these callings, and it is a transition, and your physical body is also affected by these transitions. So do expect some physical changes, maybe some things that you didn't notice before now about your body, and maybe some aches and pains, or some specific areas where there may be clusters of old energy that are finally being released. It's kind of like when you go to the dentist and he removes the plaque off your teeth, like little pieces and stuff will start to come off, and you know how fresh and wonderful your mouth feels after you're done at the dentist. It's kind of like that. So you've got, and it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It just means that there's areas of your body and your physical body and your energy body that are moving through a transition as well. So there's a lot going on here. And if you don't understand that and know that you may require a little bit of extra sleep, or your diet, you may be required to change your diet a little bit now to accommodate these new vibrations that you're moving through, or that your body is to accept into itself as it's moving through this healing and these stages of healing. It's just not, it doesn't happen overnight. There's stages of it, and this will take years. Thank goodness, that there's, I wonder sometimes maybe if we had a manual that gave us a heads up on when these times were coming, it probably would have been a little bit easier, but unfortunately it doesn't work that way. So you really do need to take the time, truly love your body while you're going through these transitions.
So important.
Exercise. I've been getting the nudge again to get back into the Tai Chi, and I'm sure there's a reason, as you get older, there's a little bit more going on in the body, the arthritis, as Deidre mentioned, and things that aren't always wonderful to talk about, but it is what it is. So when you get those little nudges, or there's something that you're shown or you're hearing and it's on repeat, pay attention to that, because they're also giving you guidance in ways to help your physical body move through these energy transitions. So, and think about it. I mean, if you're going through a huge shift and change vibrationally, of course your physical body is going to feel it, and it's going to go through its own changes too. So if you may have a craving for something, and I noticed through the years, not so much now, but years when I was moving through like very important, powerful healing sessions for myself and my traumas, just one thing stands out is artichokes. And I can't say that I ate a lot of artichokes through the years, but all of a sudden I was on this artichoke kick. Like maybe 6 months I was
you need the selenium. They're high in selenium.
That, and then I was also shown my heart chakra, the color green. There was a lot going on there, but boy, I was scratching my head thinking, why am I on this kick? Like I couldn't get enough artichokes. It's crazy. And I'm looking for different ways to make artichokes. So, and then it will happen with something else. I just noticed the other day, I'm on a grapefruit kick right now. So I'm sure there's a reason for that. I'll do my research. But if this happens, just go with it. It's temporary. It's not forever. You kind of have to make adjustments too, and let your physical body talk to you. Listen to what it's saying, because it needs to be heard as well, and do whatever it is you feel you need to do. Like really give yourself that extra love and care and,
so important,
and tenderness that it deserves. Because this is not an easy journey, not to scare people, but it kind of is what it is. I wish someone had told me, look, buckle up. It's going to get a little rough out there. But they didn't. And I learned the hard way. And Deidre, I love the fact that when you talked about these, when your clients are going through these moments and you had already been through them. So you're kind of paving the way now. You're moving the debris aside. So people don't need, they can get there a little faster than you did, because you're making the path clearer for them. Kind of you're guiding them now in and out. And this way they're not having to spend a lot of time on the things that you and I, because we spent a lot of time back in the day going through these very moments. The three of us have. So by helping people that way, you're giving them more time now they can work on themselves. They can work on their healing, and they're not having to go through a lot of it's like a parent, we're trying to warn our children, don't do that, because we already did that and it's not good. Now some things they'll have to go through because they need to learn and need to have the experience, and it is going to affect their path in some way. But I think I love that. I love that you're helping clear the way. It's kind of like, I've been there, done that. You don't need to do that. I already did it for you.
Right.
Aren't we kind of doing the same thing when we're listening to our ancestors? They're letting us know, hey, we've been there, done that. You don't need to do that.
That's right.
All right. We've already done that for you. You just pick up where we left off and keep going.
Yes. And also too, 100%. Also too is they want to work with us, and they want to let us know that we within our DNA have those gifts and that wisdom
Mm-hmm.
that they have, and it's channeling through us. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, if we think of it like, you know, on another timeline where they are allowing this energetic connection to come through to us for us to benefit from those ancient teachings or traditions or ways of healing or whatever it may be that they were really good at.
Mm-hmm.
Where their knowledge base was. When we make that connection, they're waking that up within us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that, so then from that point now I have access to those gifts or those abilities or that knowledge or that wisdom. You know, back in the
time
ancient,
spent on that part of it, now you can really do the work that you came to do.
That's right. And because I've done so much, I'm not saying I'm perfect in any stretch, but I've done, and they've showed me this, and this has been confirmed for me personally. So I'm very confident in this, is that much like the story I told about my recent client, that they showed me that basically like I completed something that allows me now to have access and understanding, and then I can utilize.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I had done last year, I had done a psilocybin plant medicine journey, and I was shown many things. And nearing the end of the journey, the woman guide who was with me, who at the time I didn't know who she was, I had a very clear visual of her, but I didn't know who she was, but I knew she was a guide for me. And she told me, you will never have to do this again. Not that I had to, I chose to, but she was saying that you now have the wisdom of the plant medicine. The plant is within you, in your cellular structure. Anytime you need to journey like this again, I can take myself there on my own and have similar experiences, tapping into those other realms, those other timelines, those other dimensions. And it was very clear to me. And I was like, okay, that's amazing. I got a lot of it out of it. And so my friend had said to me, sketch, journal, anything you can during your integration period. So I said, I think I'm going to sketch the woman who worked with me on my journey. And they said, that's great. The more detail you can get out of it, I thought, okay, this is great. This will help me really integrate the message and the information that she gave me. So I sketched her and I sent it to them, and they said, that's Mira Sabina. That's the woman who brought psilocybin journeys to the West from Mexico.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh, what? So again, it's just like, for me personally, that was a validation that was just, I was in awe. And it just solidified the purpose, the meaning, why I chose to do what I did. And to receive all that knowledge and insight was just such a gift.
Oh, I love this so much.
I know. I feel like we could talk forever.
I know. The energy today has been intense. And I'd love to talk more about plant journeys on another episode if you'd love to come back.
I would.
The Knights Templar too.
If
you'd love to dive into that some more, we'd love
I absolutely would. I'm still actually doing research now on my actual relative. So I just found this out over the holidays. And I was, like I said, I just cried. And it's interesting because I know, Stephanie, earlier you were talking about when friends or family members realize that, you do this for a living, or that you're, dabbling in the woo-woo, right? No one in my family, my immediate family, was into this, like my sisters or anything. And I found out just 7 years ago that my paternal grandfather was a medium, but never talked about it. I just found that out 5 years ago.
Interesting.
And through my father. And my sisters weren't really interested at all in spirituality, like I am anyway. And my one of my sisters, it was maybe about 8 months ago, had her spiritual awakening, and is just mind blown. And she's on this amazing journey right now. And she's like, oh my gosh, I understand now. And so that's so nice, because I can be there for her as well. So she can share, and, because that's big to be able to share to someone who understands and holds that sacred space. And then my sister, who does the genealogy, is such a skeptic, and she's all about science. But over the past couple of years, with what I said to her of visions and experiences that I had, and physically watching me in moments when we were in a medieval church in the middle of England, and I had an experience, and 2 months later found the information that validated the information that the guides couldn't share. They didn't know of the church that had to do with Knights Templar. She is like, every time now that I say something, she's like going in the genealogy, and she's getting this information. So she's like, even now saying, we can't make this up.
Right. What's happening?
You know,
Right.
you're
this
calling
is her
it.
awakening. Yes.
Exactly. So it's in her slowly, she's like acknowledging, and I feel like so excited for her, because that, you know, that will then start to open her.
Right.
Her rose will start to blossom.
Yeah.
And she'll start to find her own journey in her own time.
Well, who knows? Maybe we could get you both on talking about this. So you'll have time to do more research and get your notes together and all when we have that other episode. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one. So
thank you so much. It's been wonderful.
Oh, it has. This has been a great show today. Thank you so much, Deidre.
Thank you.
Thank you
both
so much.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And your energy is great. And I'm looking forward to more.
Yay.
Absolutely. And for anyone who's interested in contacting Deidre, we're going to put her information in the box below. Anything else you want to just let the listeners know before we go?
I say, you know, give yourself the gift of really allowing yourself to fall into your authentic self, and allow yourself the gift to remember and trust the little nudges and the niggles and the intuitive hits that you get. Believe in yourself, and finding like-minded people is extremely important, to surround yourself with loving, supportive, like-minded people. And it's incredibly beneficial and grounding.
Yeah.
I agree.
Absolutely. All right, everyone. Well, we want to thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Sleeping Lotus podcast. Our guest, Deidra Solis, we're very grateful to you for coming on, and stay tuned for more episodes, and we'll definitely have Deidra back on. So thank you all again, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.